everybody, Zach again at newtutor.com. Wanted to come in and do a quick video. Everyone's talking about Ukraine right now and what this means and how this affects us. And it's all over the news. The coverage is everywhere. It's on Drudge. It's on all of your major news networks. You know, the collapse in Ukraine and Russia now moving troops in or threatening to move troops in, and Obama, you know, puffing up saying, you better not. There'll be consequences, you know. And so everyone's, you know, wondering what's going on. Really, here's the deal. It comes to the bottom line about all of this is money. And it's interesting, you know, everyone thought the Cold War was over. It was never over. The Cold War never ended. It was just kind of put on hold. Boris Yeltsin in the 1990s, you know, stepped forward and said, hey, we're going to, you know, bring on democracy, and we're going to, you know, the Soviet Union has now collapsed, and the world, you know, brought Russia, the Russian Federation, into the international community by allowing them to join the G8 and a bunch of other government entities. And so they were brought into the fold, so to speak. The problem is Russia never really got into the fold. You know how you know someone's gotten into the fold is when they take on your banking system. And Russia and China have not done that, nor will they ever. They understand the Western banking system is going to collapse. Here's the deal, folks. The bottom line is this on Ukraine. The European Union desperately needed Ukraine to come into the EU and to apply for membership in the EU. And as soon as the coup happened and the old Ukrainian government just this last week was forced out of Ukraine, they applied for membership to the EU, which the EU is, you know, we're going to review this and probably, you know, let you in. The EU desperately needs the Ukraine to be a member of the EU because they need the assets, the financial assets that the Ukraine can bring to the table, because the EU is broke. The euro is going to collapse. It's in the middle. It's been collapsing. It's been in the midst of collapsing for the last number of years now. And so has the Western dollar. We just haven't seen this yet. It's very hard for you to see all of the calamity that our Western currencies are going through right now, because the governments mask it and the banking system mask it so well that, and apply so many band-aids over and over again that you don't normally see it, and they keep you inundated with, you know, just the normal distractions of a busy everyday American or Western life, that you don't see those things. And so we are in the midst of a collapse, a currency collapse, and the euro is going through that right now, and the EU desperately needs Ukraine's financial assets to be added to the pot in order to keep the European euro alive, the euro dollar alive. And so that's what's happening here. Russia knows this. China knows this. They understand what's happening to the Western currencies. They don't want any part of it. And they understand that if the Ukraine switches hands to a EU supported government, JP Morgan will whoop right in there and get their talons into EU and I'm sorry, into the Ukraine, and divide up its assets, and it'll be very hard to get that out of there again without really having a major catastrophe happen to the populace of Ukraine. Economic catastrophe happen to the populace of the Ukrainian people. So that's what's happening. Russia is not going to allow this to happen. Russia is not going to allow the Western banksters into the Ukraine. They're not going to have it, because here's the deal. Eventually, Russia, China, or, you know, one of the countries or both are going to come out with a gold or precious metals backed currency, and it's going to destroy the West. It's going to happen. We know China and Russia are, you know, bringing in precious metals, gold shipments and silver shipments like nobody's business. They are hoarding metals, and not even just precious metals, but other, you know, industrial metals as well, hoarding these assets like you would not believe, because they know what's coming. And those with the metal, those with the industrial strength, the precious metal strength that provides, will end up on top. They understand that, and they know what's happening to the West. It's going to happen, and so that's what's happening right now. That's what's happening with Ukraine. JP Morgan desperately wants to get in there. All these banksters from the West want to get in there to divide up the assets, and so that the EU, the euro dollar, will be saved. Thus, the Western currencies, the U.S. dollar, will be saved, because we are so tied very closely with the euro. Germany desperately wants to get in there, and Belgium desperately, which is the headquarters, Brussels being the headquarters of the EU, desperately want to get into Ukraine. Ukraine, just a few days after the fall of the the Russian-supported Ukrainian government, they applied for citizenship to the EU. That's your tell right there. That tells you what's going on. They want to get into the EU. The EU desperately wants to get them in order to stay solvent. It's that simple. It's about money. Western currencies are collapsing. They're doing whatever they can to stay afloat. The East understands that. They don't want any part of it. They know what's going to happen. They're telling you, get out of here, get out of town. You go fix your own mess. You don't include us. You know, because we have very specific interest with the Ukraine. And for me, someone who has served in the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, I understand some of the politics that go on over there because I've always kept up on it. And Serbia, the Balkans, Macedonia, Albania, Bulgaria, all Bosnia, all of those places right now are going through the Western banks have their talons into those countries, into the Balkans, and those people are seeing what's happening here in the Ukraine, and they're going, huh? Do we want to do this too? I think you know we're not really happy with how the West and their banksters have treated us, and the economic prosperity that's happened really has never come to fruition. I think we may want to go back and get on the side of Russia, and that's what's happening. I just saw a news report just today of the Balkans rethinking the Western influence in their country, and there may be more uprisings with this. And the original uprising in Ukraine was a coup placed by our CIA to overthrow that government and bring it under the influence of the EU. But I don't think it's going to happen. Russia's not going to allow it to happen. In fact, what may in fact happen would be a complete reversal. Those guys being put back out, and Russia, you know, going in there and solidifying its grip on the Ukraine and the rest of the Balkans as well, which would be a complete reversal from what it is today. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm telling you, the Cold War never ended. It makes me glad to live out in the middle of nowhere. And being out of the cities, because Russia's never been our friend. In fact, they have continually, I believe, strategized on how to take us out one day, as well with China. I think China has always strategized that plan as well too. So get out of the city would be my would be the bottom line, I guess, to all this. So it's about money. It's a Federal Reserve banking system. It's going to fail. Father says that usury is an abomination. It always fails every time it's tried. The words of the Father always ring true. Usury is an abomination, and that's what the Federal Reserve banking system is. We'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible. Thanks.